Hello. Um, Last week, I visited an independent bookshop. I love bookshops. Um, I like the smell of books. I like to look at the many books. I like to, especially like science fiction. I like the classics. I like to spend hours in a bookshop to choose which book to buy. While I was in this bookshop, I had a great experience. I really enjoyed myself. Then I chose a book and I went to pay. So I paid for the book, and the cashier, after that I paid, asked me where I'm from. I have to tell you that that question ruined my experience. And I would like to share with you why I never ask where someone is from or where their accent is from. Now, it is quite clear that I do have an accent, and people notice it. I have a very strong accent. So, and people generally are curious about others' cultures, other experiences. They're curious about other people. That's quite natural, quite normal. However, I do know that I have an accent. So when people ask me where I am from, I immediately feel an outsider, someone from the outside. Also, I never really quite know for sure what's the reason for someone to ask me where my accent is from or where I'm from. And most of the time, like in the case, I'm pretty sure in the case of the cashier at the bookshop, this question comes from a good place, just a place of curiosity. I wanted to know more about other people and other people cultures. However, time to time, it's not like that. Time to time, the questioner can be aggressive, passive or not. And for me, it is quite difficult to understand the reason of the question. The majority of time, when someone that do not know you asks you that question or ask me that question, I am left with non-verbal communication to try to understand where the question comes from. So if you don't know, non-verbal communication is what your body say that your mouth doesn't. So if you're not saying something, perhaps your eyes are saying something, or the movement of the muscle of your face, movement of your head, your hands, and so it goes on. But I'm not very good at that. So, and some people are very good at this, some people are not very good at this, some people are quite in the middle, as with everything. So when someone asks me that, I never really know exactly why they're asking me that, especially when it is the first thing that they ask me. If you are the person that asks where someone else is from or where their accent is from, you never quite know what is the experience of the other person with migration or immigration or other kind of other things. So you are assuming that the other people, the other person, can understand that you have good intention and you are asking because you are curious. So you're assuming that, but time to time it's not very clear. For example, it is not very clear to me. So I ask myself whether knowing where someone is from is really essential. It is really the thing that you want to ask immediately or as the first thing that you when you meet someone new. And I usually say, no, it is not essential. It's not essential to me to know where you are from. But What does it mean? Does it mean that we shouldn't be curious about other people's cultures or nationalities or a million of other things? No, we should be curious. It is legitimate to be curious, legitimate to want to know. But instead of asking someone where they're from or their accent comes from, if you're curious about their culture and other things, what I do usually is to start sharing my own things with the other people or the other person, to try to know them better first. So, for example, I say, oh, I like this food very much. Food is kind of a very good subject to get to know where someone either come from or their preferences, and it is very good to start a conversation that can open up an environment, a situation that allowed you to have more deep conversation about another person, culture, origin, story. Because if you're very curious about the story, share yours. So if you're very curious about someone else's story, start sharing yours. So what food do you like? I like this food, and this usually allows the other person to share what food they like and perhaps other things, and then start a conversation, and you end up having the information that you want at the beginning without having to ask, where are you from? Or where your accent comes from. So this is my experience, and this is why I'm always uncomfortable when people ask me where I'm from. And that's the reason why I never really ask anybody where they're from or where their accent are from. And I prefer to ask them what food you like. This is the food that I like. Or other variation of that. I hope you find this useful and perhaps thought-provoking. And I hope that you will think about how to approach people in a different way when you want to meet them and make friends with them perhaps, or to share with them some of your lived experience.